In the 8th year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, he took Jehoiachin prisoner. As the Lord had said beforehand, Nebuchadnezzar carried away all the treasures from the Lord's temple and the royal palace. He stripped away all the gold objects that King Solomon of Israel had placed in the temple. King Nebuchadnezzar took all of Jerusalem captive, including all the commanders and the best of the soldiers, craftsmen, and artisans, 10,000 in all. Only the poorest people were left in the land. All but the poorest people of Judah are taken away, exiled, leaving it, destitute, as well as defenseless. What's up, cool people? My name's Matt. Sorry in advance for some audio issues. I didn't realize during this recording session, or I guess just before it, that my microphone did the weird thing where the sensitivity got turned down somehow. It's like the reasons that it happens seem to be inconsistent. Like, I'll do the thing that triggers it intentionally and it won't seem to happen. But then when I accidentally do it, then it'll happen. But anyway, okay, in any case, I'll try to adjust as much as I can. The background music is probably going to be louder than normal, but in any case, welcome back to our Bible study. Alright, we are looking at 2 Kings chapter 24 right now. Basically, in the past couple of chapters, Josiah became king over Judah, which is the last remaining section of God's chosen people with an established kingdom and any actual, political or military power, because they were combined with all 12 tribes, then there was a split, and then the northern kingdom with all the rest of Israel got conquered by the Assyrians, so that left just Judah. And a couple of chapters ago, Josiah took over as king. Started off real young, but was a great person to, follow the Lord and lead the people to follow the Lord. Tore down a bunch of pagan altars, shrines, kicked out all the associated priests and all that kind of stuff, and, well, maybe didn't kick them out per se. I forget what exactly he did with them, but in any case, he made all these, good religious reforms in terms of being able to worship and follow the Lord. But then after he died, the next two kings after him went the complete opposite direction. And it had already been foretold that Babylon would come in and take all the stuff out of the palace, the temple, and all sorts of things like that. So we know we're eventually headed there. And of course, the more the people turn away from God, the quicker that's probably going to happen. But anyway, lest I digress further along that, let's hop in here to 2 Kings chapter 24. During Jehoiakim's reign, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon invaded the land of Judah. Jehoiakim surrendered and paid him tribute for 3 years, but then rebelled. Then the Lord sent bands of Babylonian, Aramean, Moabite, and Ammonite raiders against Judah to destroy it, just as the Lord had promised through his prophets. These disasters happened to Judah because of the Lord's command. He had decided to banish Judah from his presence because of the many sins of Manasseh, who had filled Jerusalem with innocent blood. The Lord would not forgive this. Manasseh, I think, was the king just before Josiah. So he did a bunch of bad stuff. Josiah did his best to undo it, but then the next two kings went back to the dark side, so to speak. Nebuchadnezzar invades, and essentially this is the beginning of the end for Judah. Now... Note there says it might be Chaldean instead of Babylonian. I mean, if Babylon was invading, then the raiders might have been on top of that. But in any case, Babylon was heavily involved. And for 3 years, they're paying tribute to Babylon, which, further, reduces the wealth of Judah, giving them less ability to have or gain things with which to fight back. Anyway, verse 5. The rest of the events in Jehoiakim's reign and all his deeds are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. When Jehoiakim died, his son Jehoiachin became the next king. The king of Egypt did not venture out of his country after that, for the king of Babylon captured the entire area formerly claimed by Egypt, from the brook of Egypt to the Euphrates River. I think it was either last chapter or one of the recent chapters that mentioned Pharaoh coming in and taking over a bunch of territory. Let me see if that's in here. I'm real quickly trying to, sort of scan all this for... Yeah. Pharaoh Necho went to the Euphrates River to help the king of Assyria. Josiah and his army marched out to fight him. Necho killed him when they met. So yeah. There had already been that. And of course, there was, fighting between Israel and Judah before even that happened, and just all sorts of things that have been reducing the military might of Judah in particular, or really all of God's people in general, even when there was still the other kingdom of Israel. Alright, on to verse 8. Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. His mother was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan? I don't know, of Elnathan from Jerusalem. Jehoiachin did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as his father had done. During Jehoiachin's reign, the officers of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came up against Jerusalem and besieged it. Nebuchadnezzar himself arrived at the city during the siege. Then King Jehoiachin, along with the queen mother, his advisors, his commanders, and his officials, surrendered to the Babylonians. In the 8th year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, he took Jehoiachin prisoner. As the Lord had said beforehand, Nebuchadnezzar carried away all the treasures from the Lord's temple and the royal palace. He stripped away all the gold objects that King Solomon of Israel had placed in the temple. King Nebuchadnezzar took all of Jerusalem captive, including all the commanders and the best of the soldiers, craftsmen, and artisans, 10,000 in all. Only the poorest people were left in the land. Nebuchadnezzar led King Jehoiachin away as a captive to Babylon, along with the queen mother, his wives and officials, and all Jerusalem's elite. He also exiled 7,000 of the best troops and 1,000 craftsmen and artisans, all of whom were strong and fit for war. Then the king of Babylon installed Mattaniah, Jehoiachin's uncle, as the next king, and he changed Mattaniah's name to Zedekiah. Okay. It just kind of wound up going through that whole section there. So after Jehoiakim died. His son takes over, still doesn't follow God, and only winds up being king for 3 months because Nebuchadnezzar, besieges Jerusalem and captures it, takes over, takes all of the gold and probably just about anything valuable from the palace and the temple, basically fulfilling what had been said before I think it was during Hezekiah's reign, that a prophet told him all this stuff would happen. And he was relieved, thinking that it would be peaceful. Or thinking that at least it would be peaceful. Again, maybe at that time he had been more worried about the Assyrians, who may or may not have been a more aggressive type of kingdom. I don't know. Note there, it stripped away, or he cut apart all the gold objects. Probably whatever needed to be done to take all the gold that was there. Because, gold is valuable stuff. And it was even back then. So basically, all but the poorest people of Judah are taken away, exiled, leaving it, destitute, as well as defenseless. Or at least that was Jerusalem, not necessarily all of Judah yet, but, I think they had already conquered parts of Judah. So, they basically have control of the whole territory. Note there, okay, Hebrews says his uncle instead of Jehoiachin's, but, the only other way that could possibly be understood would be that the king of Babylon installed his own uncle as the next king of Judah. But for there to even be in need of a name change, I would think it's more likely Jehoiachin's uncle that he put in power, but decided, alright, your name's too Jewish, I'm gonna change it to this. So it's clear that this area is ruled by Babylon. Alright. Verse 18. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 11 years. His mother was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah from Libnah. But Zedekiah did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as Jehoiakim had done. These things happened because the Lord's anger against the people of Jerusalem and Judah, until he finally banished them from his presence and sent them into exile. Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. And that's where it ends the chapter. So this makes it 4 kings in a row at least that, have not worshipped the Lord, and obviously then have not led the people to worship the Lord. Some of them even went as far as putting pagan altars and shrines and things like that throughout the land, even in the temple. And so, yeah, the proper God of the people of Judah, aka the Lord, was not even really much of an afterthought for most of the kingdom at this point, probably. But funny that Zedekiah, the king that Nebuchadnezzar installs to rule over Judah still ends up rebelling. But, sorry, backtracking a little bit, it's kind of interesting that, like, Nebuchadnezzar takes away all of the, all the people that would be any kind of important from Jerusalem, but leaves the poor folks. I guess, he probably wants to disperse pretty much anybody who would potentially whip up a rebellion against him. That's probably part of the idea. Also, he might actually be putting them to use for himself. Like, if they're soldiers and craftsmen and whatnot, they have, things that they can be helpful to an outsider, a foreign king, or whatever you want to consider Nebuchadnezzar. And really the poor folks, they might be able to help with some farming and stuff, but there's probably already plenty of people throughout the land that can do farming, and if you're going to have people to work the land in the region you've just conquered, why not the people who were already living there? So, yeah, anyway. So, technically, at this point, I guess Jerusalem hasn't been, destroyed. But it's essentially it's mostly under Babylonian control. Technically, there's a king from Judah in power, but, I'm pretty sure he was put there as a bit of a, puppet king type of thing. With the idea that, alright, this guy's just gonna do what I want anyway. But we'll make it look like, the people are still being ruled by one of their own. But anyway, that's actually all we get for 2 Kings chapter 24. Alright, so Babylon has pretty much taken over Judah at this point, as was foretold a few chapters ago. And, it's not really surprising. But what is a little bit surprising is that, Babylon keeps picking people to be in charge, and yet they still end up rebelling. We'll see the result of Zedekiah's rebellion in the next chapter, probably. But, yeah, from Judah's perspective, I understand not necessarily wanting to fully give up on, having their own power and freedom. But I don't know. I find the other side of that a little bit funny, even ironic, I guess, a little bit. Because you're probably choosing people who you think are going to be okay and not cause you problems, and then they're causing you problems. Okay. Anyway, I digress. As always, like and share if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel to get updates when I post new videos. Look down in the description for links to social media pages and all sorts of good stuff, like my Discord server and my supporter page. Maybe I'll make another supporter page on Patreon if we hit enough subscribers before the year's out. That's still something I'm contemplating. But anyway, if you have any thoughts or questions about this chapter or anything even remotely related, any faith, Bible questions, anything like that, leave it down in the comments section below the video in the description and all that. But anyway, that's going to do it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you soon for another video. But whatever the case is, till next time, stay cool, people.